Our notes tonight are about the Reconstruction Period from 1865 to 1877. This is the period after the Civil War. The North wins the war, of course, and then the Union goes about the task of how do we put the country back together. The political cartoon that we analyzed that addresses this idea of Reconstruction is the one you see here, with Abraham Lincoln and his Vice President Andrew Johnson at work trying to repair the Union. So first off, Reconstruction is just the name for what happened in the South after the end of the Civil War, right? And the name makes sense because much of the South was destroyed and needed to be reconstructed, to be rebuilt. Well, there was a lot of disagreement about what ought to happen. Lincoln's plan was to forgive and forget, right? He wanted to basically put the war behind everyone and move forward as one country to heal. So his plan involved letting the former Confederate states be readmitted to the Union if they agreed to his conditions. And that included they had to agree to end slavery, and at least 10% of their voters had to take an oath of loyalty to the U.S. government. So, all in all, that's not too bad, right? That's a pretty light, pretty easy path back to rejoining the Union. And that was Lincoln's goal. He wanted to put the war behind the country and move forward. To help out with this goal, to help out with reconstructing the South, Congress set up something called the Freedmen's Bureau. Its job was to help former slaves and also poor white folks in the South by starting schools, distributing food, distributing clothing and medicine, and just helping poor white folks and freed slaves in the South to get a life started for themselves. To build a life for themselves. As we know, Lincoln is assassinated before he can put his plan into action. And his vice president becomes president, Andrew Johnson. And Johnson came up with a plan that followed Lincoln's idea of being easy on the South, and in fact was in some ways even easier, a little bit easier than Lincoln's plan would have been. For example, they didn't need 10% of the voters to take the oath of loyalty. His plan got rid of that. And Johnson's plan didn't do much to protect African Americans. And a lot of folks were not very happy about that. You can imagine, right? We just fought this long, bloody, costly war to free African Americans, and now Andrew Johnson wants to let the South rejoin without doing anything to protect African Americans. Republicans especially were outraged at how nicely Johnson was treating the South. They felt that his plan was really bad. Some of those Republicans wanted to punish the South. They felt like, you guys caused the war, and so you should be punished for that. It should be tough for you guys to rejoin the Union. And a lot of them wanted Johnson to do more to protect the rights of the newly freed slaves. As I said just a second ago, right? They looked at it as we fought a war to end slavery. Now we need to protect the newly freed slaves. So this leads to a lot of conflict between Johnson and Congress. Eventually, Congress decides to take control of Reconstruction away from President Johnson. And in class, we'll be talking about why they did that and how they did that.